What's up, everybody? Jay here with Jay's Backyard Cooking, and today we're gonna do the 3-2-1 method on 2 slabs of pork ribs on the Akorn. Let's get into it. That's right, folks, we got the Akorn fired up. We're gonna throw some 3-2-1 ribs in there, 2 different slabs of pork ribs. One of them I'm gonna wrap in foil paper, the other one I'm gonna wrap in butcher paper, and we're gonna have a head-to-head competition to see which one comes out better, or if there's really no difference in the foil wrap or in the butcher paper. Let's get into it. So this weekend grocery haul at H-E-B brought us some St. Louis style ribs. H-E-B had a limit of 2 per, and they were real cheap. Got one for $5.13 and then one for probably about the same, $5.70. So I figured, what better time to run an experiment, very tasty experiment at that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to get these both cut open. I'm going to get the membrane off of both of them, and I'm going to season them both exactly the same: salt, pepper, garlic, straight Texas style. That's what we do here on my channel. And then we're going to throw them in the Akorn for the first 3 hours. Once I pull them out, I'm going to wrap one in foil paper, the traditional way, and then I'm going to wrap one in butcher paper and let those go for the 2 hours, and then unwrap them both, put them back in for the last hour mark. We're going to see how they come out at the end. Is there a better way to do it? Let's find out. So first things first, we'll get it out of the wrapper. And then, since these are St. Louis, I'm not gonna have to do any kind of trimming. The trimming is already done on the St. Louis. Where they cut off the spare rib or cut off the extra part of it and do most of the work for us. So what I like to do, or how I like to do it to take off the membrane, is I get a butter knife, and you just want to pry that. Find a loose piece of the membrane. Stick that butter knife under there, run it all the way across as far as you can. Peel that up. Then you stick your hands in there and yank up on it, and that should just make it peel off, just like that. Sometimes if it gets a little stubborn, you can use a paper towel to get better grip on it, which is why I have those there, just to make sure that if I need them, they're there already. But this one came off fairly easy. Yep, spoke too soon. So then you just grab the paper towel, and that gives you all the grip you need to get that membrane off. And we'll flip this around, kind of pat it dry. Put this in the aluminum pan right there, and then we'll get the other one open. Usually makes for easy work, not too tedious. Today's cook, actually the most tedious part is getting the Akorn up to temperature and then just getting it to hold. But even that, I made a separate video. If you tune in, I'm probably gonna drop that one just as soon as I get it edited, because it's gonna be a short one, but it's gonna go step by step how I do it to fire up the Akorn and keep it to temp. Makes for easy work, but it is tedious. You have to babysit it until you get it to where you want it to be. So then this one here, the same way. Put it in the pan. Once I have them in the pan here, we're gonna go in with garlic powder, number 32 ground black pepper. We'll get these flipped around. That is it. Easy prep on these. Now we're just gonna let this sit and sweat out everything until the Akorn comes up to temperature, and then we'll get them thrown on. All right, we got the Akorn up to a 246 now. I suspect it's gonna go up just a little bit more. before it starts to balance itself out. So I'm still keeping an eye on this. Right now I have the top dial to about the halfway mark. The bottom is about 3/4. I'll adjust accordingly. I'll keep an eye on the temperature gauge. But right now the biggest thing is getting these onto the grate and doing it as fast as possible. With the Akorn, what I've learned is you don't want to leave it open and do all your fixing on the side and everything else while it's open, because that air will get in there and that flame will get out of control for you. So just make sure that everything is prepped and that you're ready to put it in just as soon as you open that door. You want to put everything in and then close it back up in a hurry. So again, we're going to get this open, we're going to get the slabs of ribs put on there, and we're going to close it just as quick as possible. I'm going to do bone side down just because, and I'm putting them right in the middle. A little bit of space in between, kind of tuck that in and get it closed up just as quick as possible. We're gonna let these run for 3 hours just the way they are. I'm not gonna do anything to them other than monitor the temperature. I may at some point open it up, spritz it just a little bit, but I don't even think I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna let them ride out. Okay, we are coming up on the 3 hour mark. I'm gonna go ahead and get the butcher paper ready to go and the foil paper ready to go. I am gonna get these wrapped outside, so I just want to have it all ready, prepped to go. That way, once I'm out there, it's just should make for easy work. And then the only thing that I am going to put on there before I wrap is some of this Country Crock drizzles and sizzle. Just gonna pour some of this on top and then wrap it up, put it back in, and start the 2 hour part of the 3-2-1 step. This smells delicious. I haven't even opened it up yet in the 3 hours it's been on there. So we're gonna be able to see this together. The temperature is holding steady at 260 right now. I had come out at one point and it had dropped down to about 230. So then I opened up the vents a little bit just to get the air blowing again. But we're gonna get this open. Again, we're not gonna leave it open while we're wrapping. We're gonna take one out, we're gonna wrap it. We're gonna take one out, close it, wrap it, put it back in, take the other one out, close it, wrap it. Kind of keep that airflow under control. And then again, we are gonna use the Country Crock drizzle and sizzle just all on top. Oh yeah, that is beautiful. Look at that. I hope y'all can really see that on camera. That is looking good. Good bark, very soft, good pullback already. Let's get them wrapped. Just like that, nothing special to it. Same thing on this one. It's got some really good pullback there. Drizzle that butter on top. Let's get it wrapped up. Heavy duty aluminum foil. And back in. The temperature dropped back down to at one point 242. Now it's already up to 250, so it's coming back up. The biggest concern is not letting it stay open for too long, because that air gets in there, it'll fire everything up and it'll be hell to bring it back down. So open it, take what you're going to take out, take care of business, put it back in, close it in a hurry, close it in between the time you have the meat out, doing whatever you're doing, and you'll be able to control the heat in this pretty good. I tried the same technique using a big green egg back at my previous job. I fired it up to cook, I think it was a turkey that I cooked on it or something. And I used the same method with the big green egg. So I'm thinking that this method works perfect for any kind of Kamado grill. So just refer back to the video that I dropped sometime previous to this one. And follow those instructions, you should be good. Now we're gonna set the timer for 2 hours and start the 2-hour part of this process. Temperature gauge is holding at 270. It's been fluctuating between 270, 245. The 2-hour mark is up, so we're gonna go ahead and take that part off. Now we're in the home stretch of the 1 hour. Now on the 1 hour, most people, that's when most people go and put the barbecue sauce on. Put the at the last step is when most people put barbecue sauce on. I don't really care for barbecue sauce. My wife eats it, but put it on afterwards. So basically what we're gonna do now is just unwrap it now, put it back in, and then just let it sit there for another hour just to kind of crisp up and get that final last cook in. And then so that we can determine which is which, I'm just gonna leave a piece of foil paper on the one that's wrapped in foil. And then I also know that the one in the back is the one that's, oh wow, that's falling apart. Did y'all see that? Look at this. Yeah, that's falling apart. The one in the ribs, the one in the foil paper, I mean, doing the exact same thing. So juicy. I'm just gonna leave that on there like that. And I don't want to leave it open for too long, so we'll get this closed back up. And honestly, I think if I leave it in there for another hour, it's gonna be too much. I think we need to pull now. And I can already tell I'm gonna have fun pulling them because of how tender they are, how they were tearing apart already. So I may have to come out with a spatula and pick them up that way so that they're not just complete mush. So stay tuned. I'm probably gonna let these run for another maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to kind of get some extra smoke flavor on there. I'm gonna go ahead and close up also the Akorn completely. And then that way it can go ahead and start its shutdown process too. It's gonna take a while for it to choke out, so we'll leave it closed now all the way, and then again we'll leave the ribs in there for another 10 or 15 minutes just to get that butter at last minute, you know, be able to run off the ribs. And I'll see you back inside. I didn't leave them in here. I didn't leave them in there for another hour. They were in there for maybe 20 minutes. I shut all the vents down, but we did end up achieving some beautiful color. I'll get a close-up of this in a little bit. One of them fell apart, the one that was in the wrap. Again, I left the foil paper on the one that was wrapped in the foil paper. So let's get a rib chopped off of each one. Let's give it a taste test, and I'll give you my final result. Okay, so this is the one that was wrapped in the butcher paper. This is the one that was wrapped in the foil paper. What I can tell you right off the bat, what I can tell is that the one that was in the butcher paper is a little bit more crusty than the one that was in the foil paper. It's a little more moist, but they both look like they're gonna tear apart, fall off the bone. You can't really tell the smoke ring in there. You can tell in this one, on the butcher paper one. I'm sure there's one in there, but this is so tender, so fall apart that you can tell here. Let me see the bigger part on this one. You can tell a little bit here on the foil paper, and just a little bit more on the butcher paper one. Fall apart, ribbed in the foil paper. Excellent taste. It's not as fall apart as it seems when I'm cutting it. Maybe I just need a sharper knife. But salt, pepper, garlic always does the trick here. Again, foil paper method. Get those loaded back up. Now we'll take this butcher paper rib, smooth pull from the bone, but also fall apart. I'm not sure what I did, either right or wrong, to make them come out as tender as they did, or maybe that's how they're supposed to come out. But I don't see how it would have been possible to leave these on for another hour to finish off the 3-2-1 method. Overall, still a very good cook, very easy cook on the Akorn. I know I don't fire that thing up enough, but we're gonna have us some ribs for dinner tonight. Probably some homemade potato salad from HEB, throw some tortillas on the comal, and have dinner. If you like what you saw here, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and comment. Anything helps. And before we break, I've also started leaving links of all the stuff that I leave down below, as far as like the cutting boards, the glove that I use from Amazon, and just other things that I think would benefit you if you're trying to create content or if you're just cooking in general. We'll see you next time. You know, sometimes in life we have a plan all mapped out. Today it was the famous 3-2-1 method for these St. Louis ribs. But somewhere along the way, those ribs started telling me a different story. Another hour on the grill wasn't going to make them better. It was going to turn them into mush. So I did what all of us have to do every once in a while. I threw the plan out the window and trusted my instincts. Along the way, I wrapped one rack in foil and the other in butcher paper just to see what would happen. Turns out, both were absolutely delicious. But that butcher paper gave me just a little bit more bark. And sometimes that little difference is all it takes to find your favorite way of doing things. Life is a lot like barbecue. The recipe can point you in the right direction, but it can't tell you everything. Sometimes you've got to watch, listen, adjust, and know when it's time to pull the ribs instead of blindly following the clock. Because success isn't about sticking to the plan no matter what. It's about knowing when the plan needs to change. And remember folks, whether you're wrapping ribs, chasing a dream, or just trying to make it through another week, don't be afraid to trust your gut. The best results don't always come from following the recipe. Sometimes they come from knowing when to write your own. So until next time, keep the grills hot and the seasoning simple.